The most important job in the world may also be the one we talk about the least. Today, we're going to fix that because we're going to have a conversation about caregiving with experts who have devoted their lives to the topic. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions Publishing, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. And I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek of this gorgeous book, The Caregiver's Advocate. This is volume 3 in an award-winning series, you guys. I am excited about this book, a complete guide to support and resources. I'm going to talk about our lead author, Debbie Compton, in just a second, but a quick shout out to Davide De Angelis for helping us with this gorgeous purple cover. It's one of my favorite colors. Normally, I try to match my book covers, so I went for the purple cup today, you guys. That's how I'm matching today. Yeah, I see it. I see it, Catherine. I love it. So huge thanks to Debbie Compton. Debbie, we wouldn't be here without you. You had a ginormous vision and mission for this book. Thank you for all you do in the caregiver realm, but for gathering this stellar group of experts around you to talk about this big subject. You guys are going to hear it today. And I have some pretty cool people in my Zoom room. Catherine O'Tan, known as the Parkinson's Lady, is a board certified patient advocate and founder of Parkinson Partners. You guys are giving me that alliteration in these bios. I love it. She spent 21 years as a caregiver and advocate for her husband, David, and now guides other families through Parkinson's. Carrie Ann Sandsmark is here. She's all about getting good information to caregivers, inform, educate, and refer. And Sue Ryan is here. She's a certified caregiving advocate and business leadership strategist who co-founded the nonprofit, The Caregiver's Journey. She co-hosts its top-ranked podcast and is the author of the international bestseller, Our Journey of Love. Welcome, ladies. Oh my goodness, this topic, right? Carrie Ann, I'm going to start this with you. Give us a little bit of the why behind your chapter.
Oh, wow. So I've been just working with people for the last 15 some years in nursing homes, in assisted livings, wherever. And we always talk about dementia. Dementia's come a long way in how we treat people in these places. It used to be, restraints. It used to be when we moved on from restraints, it was more, they're just forgetful. No. I have found that there's so much more. And if we stop looking and saying, they just have memory loss, so we just don't have to do anything. That's inaccurate, I think. It is, they can't sequence anymore, or they can't maybe do other things in the way they'd like. They can't bring up what they'd like. So how do we find a way to do that better? Always the question for me. And get those things pulled out of them. And I definitely think it's with the life stories. So in this story, it was also where my family taught me that it was okay to write my own story, to write something very recent, because it was about my grandmother who had just passed this past December, and how my aunts reacted to the simple things I take for granted because I've been doing them for years that were new to them, and the questions that I asked. And in these stories, we're saying, okay, break it down. That tool that I use, the strategy, is to say, how would you describe your full morning? And people are like, I do one or two things. That's like 20 questions. We can pull, and if we really think about each one of those questions, we really get a full answer and we can expand it from there.
Yeah, this is so fabulous. Well, I'm a story geek myself. Like, give me all the stories. And your
Yeah.
chapter is called Known, Loved, Remembered, Write Your Story. I wanted to tell everyone the name of your chapter for when they pick up this beautiful book. I just want to rewind to one thing you said, and I love the way you said it. You're like, no, guys, that's not how we're going to do it. Like, we're going to dive
Yeah.
deeper here and we're going to help a little bit more. Can you just expand on that a little?
Yeah, it's easy in a facility, or even when I'm talking with people in a library. Try to do libraries because it's free, and I like free. I don't like taking advantage of people because they have a problem. Let's give the information we have that's easy to give. Um,
Yeah.
but being able to say it's not that it looks good on the outside, so we're done. That's not acceptable. It's a little messy when we do things right, and it's okay to be a little messy and be real. And that makes a difference. And to be real, we got to know some details, and it's not always fun. We got to know the hard stuff too. But then we do want to know the fun, and we want to accentuate the fun. Say, what are we going to do with this then? If we can't paint the really detailed paintings anymore, we can still paint. If we can't have breakfast at home with our family, we could still have what we like to eat or drink if we know what that is. So those details really matter, and we got to ask the questions to get to the details.
Yeah, that's
Did I
a
answer your question?
really, yeah, it's a really wonderful way to kick off today, just in those good vibes. Thank you. Thank you for being
Yeah.
here, for saying
Oh,
yes
thank
to this
you.
project. So, Sue, I'm going to move over to you with this why question. Give us a little bit of the why behind the chapter that you wrote.
I wrote chapter 6 titled "When Caregiving Roles Change, Love Remains," with the subtitle "Juggling Every Role While Holding On to Love," because in each of my caregiving journeys, when we received the diagnosis, I ultimately just immediately prioritized the role of caregiver for my loved one. And I let go of who I was. I let go of the other roles I had in my life. I want others to learn faster and much, much more easily than I did that when we have these different roles in our lives, they're not meant to disappear. Yes, they're going to change shape, but love finds a way to express itself through every single one of them. And I want every caregiver to know that we still are all the roles in our lives. So I'm really passionate about helping people hold on to who they are to themselves as well as their care receiver throughout their entire journey.
So, let's say there's somebody helping their loved one do that, exactly what you described, and they're looking for like that first step in. What would you say that is?
The first step in after they've been diagnosed.
Well, like they're helping them with the idea of those roles, and they're in
Sure.
there and they're we're all trying to help to the best of our ability. What's that first step that you want them to do in helping them understand their roles, or I don't know, feel like everything's going to be all right?
Actually, the very first step I would recommend is that people remember to practice self care.
Mm,
Because when we receive a diagnosis, there are really two people who are being diagnosed. The care receiver is being diagnosed with the diagnosis of a type of dementia, but the caregiver is being diagnosed with the role of caregiver. And it's so easy for us to forget that we can't care for others if we haven't been able to care for ourselves, if we're not prioritizing our own care. And we keep, by the way, I'm saying this from somebody who did not learn this the easy way. No one told me this in the beginning, and so I'm the one who shaved things off until I had shaved too much off. But when we step into that role of caregiver, we are also a caregiver for ourselves. And it's important for us to start by prioritizing, recognizing the importance of our own self care as we then give of ourselves in other ways to other people.
yeah, this is another really important message. Thank you, Sue. And thank you for just being here to share your wisdom today.
Thank you for bringing us together.
This is a fun part, right? Getting to talk to you guys. Catherine, let's hear a little bit of your why.
So in 2004, my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it was pretty much out of the blue, even though we knew for years there was something wrong, but neither one of us suspected it was Parkinson's. And as I went along in this, I was already an entrepreneur. I'd been an entrepreneur for 22 years running a jewelry company, and I was excited about where I was going with my role in life. And all of a sudden, everything changed. And what I immediately learned was that the doctors don't know everything. And we didn't know what questions to ask or who to ask. So my chapter is chapter 11. And I had to become a Parkinson's patient advocate. And I literally really did overnight become an advocate for Parkinson's because of my husband. And I created 10 simple strategies that can make all the difference in any disease, but particularly in something as a chronic disease like Parkinson's, dementia, MS, all of those. So as I went along in my journey with my husband, I realized that we didn't have enough information to bring to the doctor. And I developed, along with my husband, developed 10 strategies that were tracking the symptoms and the medication side effects, and then developed a bunch of questions that had to be asked at every single appointment with every single doctor. And that's what I teach. My goal globally is to teach everyone how to be a patient advocate for themselves and for the loved ones, because it's a team effort.
Another really important topic with this, Sue started talking about that role that got thrust upon you, and then self-care, right? And now you're just taking that a step further. Like, you dove deep, you kind of cannonballed into it. I mean, how was that for you? you know?
As an entrepreneur, I knew how to dive in and do research and ask questions. And I think that really helped me. My skill sets already took me to that other level. But I also kept the role of being an entrepreneur. And because of what I learned helping my husband, I began to help other people. So I've been helping. Now, I wasn't just helping my husband, he passed away a year ago, but I've been helping hundreds of people with Parkinson's and their caregivers for 21 years.
That's amazing. And big love to you for that loss. But thank
Thank
you
you.
also for creating something from that that's probably helping thousands, who knows how many people will be helped by that day when you decided to take that role another step. Catherine, thank you so much for saying yes to this and being here today. I've got a huge thanks to all three of you, really. I challenged you to put a vulnerable story into that book, and you all did that so brilliantly. But then in the second part of the chapters, you're stepping up with those master teachings, that wisdom, that experience, and you're giving the readers a practical step, or 10 in Catherine's case. And I'm very grateful to all of you for really doing that. You help people every day, but it's quite another thing to get it in black and white in a book in a way that a reader can consume it and have an experience. And what is that quote? I think it's one of my favorite Esther Hicks quotes. She's like, "Words don't teach, experiences do." And you all put those opportunities for those experiences right in the book. So Sue, I'm coming to you with this next one. And I love it because you actually started down this road a little bit already. Caregiving often, a lot of the time, leads to burnout. And I know you all have experiences, either personal or helping others with this, right? You've already started to talk about them. What's a simple step that maybe a listener can take today if they're really right in that burnout? What do you want them to know? Give them a simple step.
Building on the number one thing is practicing self-care. The second thing is I learned that when I fully 100% accept exactly what's going on in the moment by moment, when I stay fully present in what's going on, no judgment of myself, no judgment of others, no judgment of the experience, then what I can do is I can clearly see what I'm able to do. I can clearly see what's going on. I can understand where I'm not qualified to provide the help, and I don't judge myself. So when I am accepting what's going on, I can accept without judgment. And one of the things that happens with burnout is we have this shoulding going on. We feel like, well, if it's a spouse, it's, for better, for worse, through, till death do us part, I should be able to do this. I immediately get the role of caregiver and I should be able to do this. No. When we accept what is and we stay fully present, we know what we're qualified to do. We know where we need to get help. And we can see in ourselves that we are not qualified and that we are burning out, that we don't have the capacity. And we now can reach out to people and start asking questions because we know that's the wisest choice for our care as well as for that of our care receiver.
That awareness, you guys, I hope you pause this and rewind and listen to that again because that awareness is game changing, life changing right there. Awareness is everything. What a wonderful nugget there, Sue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine, I know that everyone's going to be like nodding their head to that for the first, and you all are going to be advocates of self-care for the caregiver too. But what do you want to add? I know there might be like one of those simple steps that you could talk about, especially with the journey that you had.
Well, I think for my family, and I had a very cooperative husband, and that's not always the case. So I was very lucky, but we started off just tracking his symptoms and the medication side effects because especially with Parkinson's, there's a lot of changes in medications, dosing, timing, different medications that come along that you want to try. He was in a clinical trial even, and we had to track during that time. And I think for me, the most important thing was to be able to look at what was going on and then to relay that information to the doctors, to anybody, whether it was a physical therapist, occupational therapist, whoever was working with him had to have a benchmark of where he was. And that tracking really made all the difference. We started off tracking once a week. We ultimately did it every single day. I won't say everybody's going to do it every single day, but when I run support groups and do education programs, I teach people how to track this so they can work with their doctors, they can work with the hospitals, the clinics, and even the testing that they have to go through. All of that makes a difference when you have the right information to relay.
I mean, you're talking about stuff that's important for anybody going through, even like normal sort of life situations where they're managing conversations back and forth and multiple people. Like this kind of project management, it sounds kind of corny when you talk about it with everything else, but it's such an important life skill to do this. That's another huge nugget for people. Get your notebooks and pens out if that's what it takes today, you guys. Start tracking, right? Thank you, Catherine.
Yes, you're welcome. And thank you for this opportunity to share this information. It's really my passion.
Of course. Carrie Ann, what about you? Like, is it possible to do this role without burning out? And if so, tell me how. Like, what would be a simple thing you want to tell people?
Couple, but short. I love simple. We can get technical and get researchy. That what they've been talking about is care coordination is what's referred to in research. Excellent. But I really like simple, and why I say that is three different things. One, I tell caregivers in my team, especially if you're a paid caregiver, but it works at home, have a playlist of music. The reason being is what you hear, everything that's going on, it's always somebody else's everything when you're a caregiver. Have something for yourself. You're not intruding, but it's your own music. It's your own time. When you need that 15-minute break, a song that's just you've picked is amazing. So those are quick breaks. But another thing, I hope I didn't lose my thought trying to say that one, is that writing out your stories is just as therapeutic as we talk about with journals and whatnot. You're writing it. You're not worrying about who you're offending, what you like in the morning. You're not thinking, oh, but my husband really likes to eat breakfast at 8 o'clock, but I would rather. You are just doing just you. You can blend later. That helps to clarify. Sometimes we don't even think about it. So if we take the time to think about, oh, that is really what I would like, it makes that world a difference. One more. Thinking. And what I just read, that's why I was hard time remembering it, because I read it. But I read it just a couple weeks ago. Harvard has come out with a new study that says burnout. We know that caregivers burn out, but the surprising thing that they found was that it's not from the workload. It's actually from not knowing what's next. So when we are writing out our stories, part of the program when we're writing out our stories is saying, here's also what the continuum of care looks like. You've got this choice of long-term care or assisted living, and what does independent living look like? Because it's called three different things. When we start mapping those things out and the caregiver knows what's next, they are a lot less likely to burn out because they know what's coming. They're not fearful of what could be. So they're taking care of themselves now, but they're also getting that glimpse into the future to get ahead of it, feeling like they've got a little more control. And that seems to work out great.
Those tips are brilliant, Carrie Ann. Thank you. I love that. Yeah, the fear of it's the uncertainty. And then your body mind is in that stress all day long. Well, if we can map this out a little bit, maybe we could take a breath, right? And allow our nervous systems to come down a notch in understanding. And that's just like, let's help people by educating. I love that.
You
I
hit
love
that with the
that.
nervous system. You hit that. Yeah, that's exactly. Get your nervous system where it's okay to be you this moment. It's okay. You know what's happening in the future, and that makes the present handleable.
So I want you all to have a chance to speak more to the kinds of education and tools that you're giving in this book. They're really all quite amazing. And Catherine, I'm going to start with you here. What's the most important thing you want us to know about those 10 simple strategies? You've gone into this, now a couple of times, and I'm loving your talk about the tracking and how important that is. What else do you want people to know about this?
Well, I think one of the most important things about any disease is never assume anything about it. You can't assume because, and particularly with symptoms, a lot of times symptoms are internal as well as external. And in Parkinson's, that is a particular issue where you may have tremors inside your body and you might not have them on the outside. Or you may have issues with digestion that nobody has any idea about, and it's making you miserable, but people can't understand why you're so irritable and don't understand what's going on. So as caregivers, and I would say this to doctors as well, never assume that what you see is what's going on. There is so much more underneath it, as well as the emotional part of it. And for caregivers, I would really like to always tell people there's something that happens to us as caregivers over time, especially for long-term caregiving like I did. There's a pre-grief kind of issue that happens, and that can lead to burnout. And for me, that was an issue. I wasn't even aware that I was grieving, but I would go in my bedroom and just curl up in a ball and cry. And I didn't even know why, but it's because I was watching him deteriorate and it was upsetting my emotional balance. So I had to keep changing my mindset every day to keep going.
Pre-grief. That's interesting, right? What another wonderful bit of awareness there. If you're listening and that's you, you can take a couple of breaths and just have an understanding that that might be what you're in. And it's okay. And then somebody said earlier, it's okay for this all to be messy. Like, right? Because it is like, that's
The
just
messy middle.
the facts, right? Yeah. Okay, Carrie Ann, what's the most important thing you want us to know about writing those stories?
For Okay, so for me, it was the part that I was taught in writing it was my family saying, yeah, you talk about everybody else's story. You're in libraries and you've been in how many facilities and saying, hey, you need to do your own. Well, where's yours? Like, well, called out on the carpet. Because I wasn't sure about writing this one because my grandmother had passed so recently. But it was what they taught me was that it was okay. It's the same thing I tell other people, but I needed to listen to my own advice. And the fact that it was so messy, and I thought I did so little, and that was not was what was perceived. And so what we do every day is something someone else may not have heard before, even in our own family. And so we just need to keep doing what we're doing because it's going to catch somewhere. Someone's going to need this. And boy, if we can just help alleviate it, because as both ladies have said in this interview alone, it is so difficult the day to day and for someone having to be in there. So any little bit, that's what I'm hoping someone gets out of it.
I love that they called you out.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's just too funny. Like, oh yeah, okay, maybe it's my time to do this. I love
Right.
that. Thank you, Carrie Ann. All right, Sue, you're going to wrap us up. Tell us the most important thing you want us to know about when those roles change and love remains.
The most important thing I want people to know about when our roles are changing is, as we're being aware of what's happening, is to reach out. That we're not meant to have all of the answers. That, like, in the beginning, I didn't have the answers. I didn't know the questions to ask, and it's reasonable we wouldn't. And if you have a diagnosis of dementia, look in your community. Where are there dementia support groups? Go online. The Alzheimer's Association provides support for many other diagnoses in addition to Alzheimer's. And my business partner and I, Nancy Treaster, when we launched the Caregiver's Journey, it was because we wanted people to be able to find answers. And that's what this chapter is about. Get practical tips and get answers to the questions that we don't even know to ask on our journeys, so that we make our journeys easier for us and for our care receiver, while still prioritizing and giving ourselves more time to prioritize our own self-care.
Yes, beautiful. Oh my gosh, you also reminded me to just remind everybody that the resource section alone in this beautiful book is worth the price of admission. All of our authors have stepped up to give you a robust resource section in the back of the book. That's in addition to all the other things that they're teaching and sharing. So it's badass, y'all. Like, that's all I can say about it. To
They
all of
really
you,
are. People really
yes,
did step up. I was so impressed with the variety and depth of the insights that people shared with the content they provided. It's really great.
yes, ditto. Sue, Carrie Ann, Catherine, thank you so much for what you do in the world. Thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. If you listeners are, getting the goosebumps like I did a couple times, maybe you have a question or you need the support. Maybe you want to carry on the conversations that we started. This is way more than a book. It is a generous community. And if you scroll down into the show notes, I have all of our authors hooked up with their websites. Please go click and explore. There are so many resources for you there, and they are up to some amazing things in the world. Of course, we would love for you to go grab your copy of this beautiful book. I've got the link down below for that as well. And lastly, today, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you
Thank you,
next time,
Laura.
everyone.
Thank you, Laura, for this opportunity to share what we know with the world that will help thousands and millions of people globally. I just appreciate it very much.
As Nancy and I say when we wrap up our podcast episodes, we're all on this journey together.
Absolutely.